Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today we are going to be talking about limited edition eyeshadow palettes as part of my eyeshadow palette month here on my channel. I did a video I think a couple of months ago where I talked about limited edition eyeshadow palettes that I decided not to buy and why, and I thought I could counter that video with the positive side of things. So limited edition eyeshadow palettes that I did actually buy. And then the other day I saw Angelica Nukvist do a very similar video, and one of you already asked me in the comments as well if I would be doing this. So yes, today we are going to be talking about limited edition eyeshadow palettes that I did decide to buy. And I do have to preface this by saying that I'm not a huge fan of limited edition eyeshadow palettes. I am someone who really wants to wait and really sort of decide as I go along whether I want to buy something, yes or no. So for me, buying eyeshadow palettes that are limited edition only works if you like snatch them up straight away, and that's something I very often don't do. So there's a little bit of story time behind some of the palettes I have for you here too, because some of these I definitely sort of, once I decided I wanted them, they were already out of stock everywhere and there was like only one way to get it. So I am going to be talking about 10 of them that I do have. And the first one that I have here, I'm just going to go through it in the order that they are lying in front of me. And the first one I want to talk about, I'm not sure whether it's truly limited edition, but I think it was. And it's the Tarte High Tides and Good Vibes eyeshadow palette. This may still be available on like their official website or something like that, but Anastasia does this too, where they say or like things are no longer available in regular stores like a Sephora or a Douglas like we have over here, but they will actually still stock it on their official website. Too Faced does this too, which is a bit strange. And I bought this last year. I think it was released for spring last year and I wasn't sure whether I would still be able to find it. And Tarte is also a brand that when they do palettes, they do keep them around for quite a while. It's not as if you can only buy them for like a week and then stocks are gone and you can no longer get it. So this is a palette that you can buy. And of course, one of the reasons why I wanted this is because of this gorgeous packaging, but also because it has a really interesting play on pressed glitters. Now, hear me out. I'm not a fan of pressed glitters either, like most people are, but these pressed glitters, there's just something about them. With a bit of glitter glue, they stay put really, really well. And I just appreciate the division of the shades in this. You get some neutrals over here, and then you get those blue tones here and that pink. And for instance, this pink with that pink shimmer all over the lid made for such a great wearable, because I wore that look to work, such a wearable look. And then of course this teal shimmer with those blues is stunning, that gold with some of the neutrals, but also this silver with some of the blues. It just works together really, really well. And in terms of pressed glitters, this is just a really nice one. So for me, this is like a neutral palette with a twist. And if you know anything about me, I love a good neutral palette with a twist. So that's why this was one that I definitely wanted to get. I was able to still find it at Sephora when I was there, and I was like, okay, great. Now, the one that almost got away this year was the ABH and Jackie Aina palette. So this was one that when it came out, I was like, this is going to be too dark for me. I don't need this in my life. Like, this is not a must-have, you could say. I even saw it in real life. And I decided to still not get it. And then everybody was putting this palette in their 2019 favorite eyeshadow palettes of the year. And then I was like, oh, and I saw like lots of people also with fair skin doing looks with this, and I was like, oh, it can work. And then of course it had sold out everywhere, but it went on sale on Beauty Bay over Christmas time, and it's still on there too, so you can still get this. But yeah, this is going to be one where they are again going to be discontinuing it. But like I mentioned, Anastasia is also one of those brands that keeps products around for quite some time if they are limited edition. This is a bit of an older one, and this is one that I only keep in my makeup memories box, but it's one that I'm still very happy I got. And it's the Pure My Little Pony, the movie eyeshadow palette. And this was the palette I bought to get into colorful makeup, which makes it a little bit sentimental for me because I was just not a big fan of very colorful makeup for a long time. I was very sort of playing it safe, only wearing neutrals. But then I think her name was Kaylee Baute, was saying how this palette can really help you to put you out there, because what this palette has is like all these different quads, but going up and down, going across, going diagonally like this. It's just a very cleverly laid out palette, and you get this bright pink, a green, a blue, a purple, a red. You also get a yellow in here. So it has all the neutrals that you could possibly want, but it also has a lot of the colorful shades that you might want. So that's why this is just a really, really great eyeshadow palette that I'm very happy that I got, because if it wasn't for this, I'm not sure how comfortable I would be wearing color. Next up, we have the Limecrime Venus Immortalis eyeshadow palette. This came out over the Christmas period, and at this moment, I can't really find it anywhere apart from the Limecrime official website. I think that's where they still sell this. So this seems to have been limited edition, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but this is a really, really nice cool tone color story. So of course I had to get it because this is just like me in a palette. I do have to say it is very gray toned. I would have liked, like, I really want brands to start doing cool tone palettes that aren't just grays and taupes. Like, cool tones can be a lot of other things too. So I'm still looking for that cool tone palette that does it all. It currently doesn't exist yet. Yeah, in here you get 4 mattes, 4 shimmers, of which these 2 are like super foily metallics. A lot of people struggle with this getting hard pan really quickly. Mine is a good 8-9 months old and it doesn't have hard pan yet, so it's fine. This Echo shade is possibly one of my favorite taupes in my collection. I love Moth. It's so, so stunning. So this is a great little palette. If you can still get it, I highly recommend you looking into this because it's a good one. So 2 of my favorite brands that I love trying limited edition stuff by is Essence and Catrice. They very often come out with limited edition collections, but they can be a little bit hard to find. However, I have found out that they're international. They are stocked on an international website called Cosmetic for Less. And I will put it in the description box if you're curious, but that's where you can usually find limited edition products by Essence and Catrice if they don't do them in your country, because that's very often the case. However, Catrice does sometimes then in the end do these products where I live. It's a bit crazy what we get and what we don't get, and it's very unclear. But one thing they did this year that did come to my local drugstore as well are the Minnie and Daisy palettes. So this was a collection with, I think, 2 eyeshadow palettes and then some mini nail polishes. I just went with the eyeshadow palettes because, you know, I had to try these. And these were so, so lovely. I actually put a look with this also on my channel, so make sure to link it in the eye above in case you're curious what these look like and go like on. So the Daisy palette is a bit more cool toned, and it's got a bit more like of a purpley shade. I do have to say that Dazzling in the middle was a bit of a faff to use. It needs a lot of layering for it to work. The Mini palette is probably my favorite. That's a lot more warm toned, and this red in the bottom here is actually a duochrome with an orange flip to it. Really lovely quality, and that's something that I have found is that Catrice and Essence eyeshadow quality in their regular line is not always the greatest, but then they do a limited edition like this and it's really good. It's really crazy how they do that. But yeah, these eyeshadow palettes by Catrice I was very happy with. And then I think fall last year, and I think they're now also doing one for summer actually, Essence and Catrice did a sister collection. In case you don't know, Essence and Catrice are owned by the same company. So they are sister brands, and they did the Sister Love Royal Party collection, whatever, last year, and now it's their Tantastic collection, I believe. And this is one of the palettes I picked up last year. This is the Silver Glitter Show palette. It's got a little sleeve, and then this like super sparkly like packaging, a bit like the Tarte. It was really well done, but I also really love the quality of the three palettes that I bought from the collection. This was my favorite because it's cool tones. Like if this shade here, these two, so pretty. It is a cool tone neutral palette, but and you don't get a whole lot of mattes. There's only 4 mattes in here. Everything else is shimmer. But this was so stunning, so yummy, really great quality, so easy to blend. I wish Essence would do this in their regular line because I tried their newer Which Side palette, and that was a mess. So they can do good eyeshadow quality, but they're very inconsistent. Let me tell you about the one palette where I feel like I'm so happy I got it, where I would be very sort of disappointed if I didn't get my hands on it. And it's the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar. And this was a palette that everybody hated. And it was really hard to get to, at least where I live, because at the time we didn't have Too Faced yet. And the reason why everybody hated it, and because it's very light, and of course I'm super fair, so for me this is gonna work. But this one I found very randomly. I was in London and there's a Too Faced store in Carnaby Street, and that's where they still had a few of these, and I was like, okay, I would like to have that. And of course a lot of people they already did the white chocolate chip palette, like the mini palette before this, and it has a couple of the same shades that were already in that. A lot of people weren't liking that. I just think that if you have too deep of a skin tone, you won't like this. However, if you're fair like me, then this is like one of the best palettes on the market. So I'm very happy that I got this, because this is one that's just perfect for my eyeshadow needs. Let's talk about something that I only just found out. It has been discontinued, and this is a palette I'm showing you a lot this month, but it's the Melt Muerte palette. I definitely fell in love with Melt because of this palette. Like, this has made me want to buy every single Melt eyeshadow palette on the market, which I'm holding off. I'm not that crazy. I'm not gonna do that. There's a couple of color stories that don't really appeal to me. And Melt has a tendency to do a lot of mattes, which is also the case in this palette. There's only 3 shimmers. I wish they would do more shimmers, because I prefer shimmers over mattes. But the Muerte is just super special to me because of its color story. It's such an intriguing, grungy, teal, green, navy, wine red, plum color story. It's just the color story of my dreams, and that's why I just need to mention this in every single video right now. I'm sorry if you can no longer find it. I do apologize, but that's of course goes for all of these palettes. Another one that's a little bit controversial, Urban Decay's Backtalk. Everybody hated on this palette, and I'm like, guys, it's not a bad palette. Yes, I can see why some people say that this palette didn't give them what they wanted. I totally understand. The mirror comes out, because if you have a look at this palette, it seems a bit bland. The Urban Decay Backtalk palette was inspired by one of their lipsticks, which is also one of the shades here. It's called Backtalk, and this is just the rosy, warm, mauve-y tones of my dreams. If you don't know anything about me, then you'll know, like, if you know anything about my eyeshadow taste, you know that Urban Decay Naked 3 is like one of my all-time favorite palettes. Till this day, I love a good rosy tone, and this just gives you everything that you could possibly want. But this palette got a lot of slack because in good Urban Decay fashion, they don't have a lot of mattes in here, and a lot of people were feeling it was missing some shades. However, this is also why I always take out the mirror when I show this palette, because these cheek products actually work really well as eyeshadows. These two make for great transitions that pair really well with the other shades. And this highlighter is like the best inner corner highlight. I've never used this on my cheeks. I only ever use it as eyeshadow. So for me, this palette was just one that was, I just loved this, and it was for a very long time very difficult to know whether this was even coming to the Netherlands. But it came, and I still love mine, and it's one of those palettes where I'm like, ooh, I should bust it out again, because I feel this is very much like a spring-like palette. And I keep saying this about a lot of the palettes that I deem very spring-like. Spring is usually, so like spring-summer is when I get to try out most eyeshadow palettes, so usually I save up what I've bought over the summertime, or over the winter time, and then I start using everything in the spring-summertime. So I'm currently still like working on like a lot of the things that I then buy. And last but not least, we have to go in with another Urban Decay eyeshadow palette, because there's only one brand that I truly feel where I've collected certain limited editions over the years, and that would be Urban Decay, because Urban Decay is one of my favorite brands. And this is going to be very shiny, but the Vice palette, let me show you this. I did already own Vice 1, Vice 2, and I also own the Vice 3 and the Vice 4. I still didn't declutter mine because I feel that these palettes just have a couple of very stunning shades that I love, which is why I can't get rid of these. But the Vice 4, the Vice 3, I should say, why am I calling it the Vice 4? It's the Vice 3 was definitely sort of the one that also almost got away, and I'm very happy that I got my hands on it. I ended up not buying it because I didn't like the packaging, and I wasn't really down with it. Because I already had the 1 and a 2, and I was like, I'm not using it a whole lot, so do I want to splurge that much money? At that moment in time, Urban Decay was not a brand that was available to me here either, so it was more difficult and more costly to get the palette and import it from England and do all that. So I decided to hold off on it and not get it. And then I still wanted it. And then the only place where I could still get it was the US Urban Decay website. So I had this shipped to a friend of mine in the US who that summer I was meeting up with to go to a Kelly Clarkson concert. So I had it shipped to her in Baltimore. She went to New York. We met up in New York for the Kelly Clarkson concert, and then she gave it to me. And then for the next 3 weeks, I lugged this around North America in my suitcase because I was traveling after that. So this palette has been on a journey, you guys, and that's, you know, this is probably the only makeup product where I went through so much in order to try and get my hands on it, and I still don't regret it. These berry shades are really nicely, I think that these will really nicely complement some of the berries in the Born to Run. I think this is actually very much Born to Run kind of vibes, don't you think? I think it's quite similar. So that's also why I don't love my Born to Run as much as other people, because I already have a palette that gives me just that. So I will reach for this over the Born to Run any time of day. But yeah, the Vice palettes aren't exactly known for having very cohesive color stories. So that's why they're a bit dated by now, but I still feel there are certain like one-off shades in every single one that I just want to keep it around for. So for instance, in this one, I love Dragon. That green is just so pretty. I love Vanity, which is like a nice cool tone purple. Bondage and Alchemy, and also Alien and Sonic. Sonic is like the shade. This Revolver shade is really stunning. It's like a black and navy almost. I like Heroin. I like Freeze. And one thing that I do like about this Vice palette in particular is that you don't really get one color story, but each column is a color story that you can use, and then you just have matte neutrals here to tie it all together. So this was when Urban Decay actually started to understand color stories and things like that. So yeah, those are 10 eyeshadow palettes that were limited edition that I have and that I'm very glad to have. So I'm very sad to say that, of course, it might be very difficult for you to get your hands on these things in particular, but hey ho, these are things that really make they just make my heart melt. And I don't very often feel that way about limited edition eyeshadow palettes. In fact, it took me quite a long time to get to this list. Because I knew already last April or May I wanted to do this video, and I had this little file on my computer where I was trying to keep track. Whenever I had one like popped into my head, I would add it. And I literally added the Backtalk the other day before I sat down to film this video. So yeah. Me and limited edition eyeshadow palettes, we don't really go together very well. But yeah, these are the ones that I have, that I enjoy. That's all I can say about it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what limited edition eyeshadow palette you really like that you got your hands on. That would be nice if we could have that conversation together in the comments. And then I hope you would like to stay tuned, because I've got more eyeshadow palette content coming your way. So please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to stay tuned, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye.